Good evening, everybody. This is Debbie Montgomery Johnson, and I'm here with the Thrivers Group. This is our first webinar officially with the Thrivers Group, and I'm so glad that you are here. This program tonight is a presentation to our Thrivers Group, and it will be presented to other support groups at a later time. It's being recorded for training purposes, and right now, all of the participants, except for the speakers, will be muted. So if you have a question to ask Miss Deborah Morrison, please put it in the chat and I will be able to pass that on to her. All right, so let's go ahead and begin. There's a lot of good information. I would like to introduce to you my friend, Miss Deborah Morrison. And I don't have Deborah's bio in front of me, but it's got a lot of letters after it. I'll let you explain who you are and what you're doing. And I want to thank you in advance for this because the SCARS, the Society of Citizens Against Relationship Scams, is an incredible organization, and we support men and women around the world with information. The financial aspect of it, though, has not really been addressed by us as a support group. And I'm very excited because so many women have asked me, do we have any good information to help us take that first step to get past the financial scam and to start our lives again? And if anybody has good information, in my view, it is you, my friend. So please, everybody, welcome Miss Deborah Morrison. Hello, my friend.
Thank you, Debbie. I am delighted to be with you. And I'm also a certified grief coach. So I say similar greetings to my people that are facing the loss of a person. And that is, I'm sorry for the occasion under which we gather. Because you have been subject to some very difficult times and you have endured in whatever capacity you have endured. And I commend you. And I will challenge you then to extend that recovery to your finances. And I get it that there will be an entire spectrum of financial confidence and courage. And I will attempt to speak as if we all can use a boost of our financial confidence. And I don't know if you can put that in the chat, that would be helpful. Yeah, you can use, or is everybody's financial confidence number one? If that's the case, we'll move to a different topic. But if that's not the case, if you guys think, hey, let's increase our financial confidence, let's put that in the chat. Yes, 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 but increase our financial confidence. And or if you have me pegged for something else and you'd like me to do something else, I'm a 42-year professional in the business. I had my own practice, which I built, and my master's was in retirement planning. So I had 35 clients mostly for 42 years. I had the clients and then their kids and then their grandkids. That's how ridiculous it was. And then in 2020, I sold that practice and now I'm serving women as a financial coach. Why? Because it feels to me as if women have not been socialized very well around their money. So I want to do my part in leveraging that which I have in terms of my own investing experience and that of my clients so that we can all glean what we need in terms of that boost in the arm, if you will, that boost of our confidence in terms of moving ourselves forward so that we achieve the wealth that we want and deserve. Really important.
And in addition to your financial planner experience, Deborah, you're also a grief coach. So in many cases, the folks that have been scammed were either divorced or widowed. And so that goes hand in hand with the money aspect of it. So that gives you great credibility. And I thank you for that.
It does. And I have written a book, actually. I wasn't even planning on talking about that, but I have written a book called My Husband Died, Now What? A Widow's Guide to Grief Recovery and Smart Financial Decisions. It's literally half financial coaching and half grief recovery. So I do think that that may be a helpful resource for your readers. Now, let's talk tonight then about moving the dial financially speaking. I don't know if we can get a show of hands. Not so many people are on live. Can we get a show of hands in terms of people having made, several financial missteps, or one like a big financial misstep, or you've been subject of scams, financial scams and emotional scams. But has everybody been effective in moving through that misstep, or is there still some residue from that that's stuck and causing us a lot of hesitation and clogging our valves, if you will, from moving completely through that? Can we get any kind of response from that?
Yep, I see a couple of hands go up. If you have a response to that, go ahead to the reactions down at the bottom and click on a wave or a hand. I think perfect. That's probably a true statement for almost everybody here, Deb. Okay,
so I want to suggest that, and I have, let's be real clear. I have talked about a very, very major financial misstep that I made at age 55. 55. I came into the financial services field at age 21. So remind yourself, I'd gotten my master's degree in retirement planning. I'd built a business from thin air. I had 30 high net worth clients. I was well read. I got 3 times the amount of continuing education credits each year. I was admitted into the registry for financial planning practitioners, less than 700 internationally on my first attempt. I don't know anyone else that got in on their first attempt. So I was really at the top of my professional game. And a lot of offers would come across my desk, and these people were purporting to have me either invest or have my clients invest. And we were very, very particular and disciplined about our clients' investment choices. And so I did never take my clients to this extent, but I got invested in the thought of this investment, which intrigued me, and that was corporate recycling. And this was back in 2007. So it was pretty early on, like taking oil and tires and turning them into cash, right? And it was a completely exciting endeavor. I went, checked it out, kicked the bricks, went to double ballroom compliance meetings. I was like one of a handful of people that weren't a CPA, in a room of 200 people, questioning about the deals and so forth and so on. And long story short, I was privy, as we all were as investors, to be able to reinvest our monies back into the subsequent offering, right? They would close an offering, they would buy a site and start a plant there. And then they were even looking and bought acreage in Tennessee, and there was going to be a green community and so forth and so on. And so I took the cash dividends the first, 2 or 3 distributions. Then I thought, well, this is silly. This is above market gain. And so I just kept reinvesting and reinvesting and reinvesting. So I had like 7 or 8 different partnership interests. And one Monday, the general partner was talking with us and said, the SEC called and said they want to talk with me in Denver. I don't think I'm going to go to Denver and talk with them. I said, oh, Troy, you will go to Denver and talk with the SEC. I'm regulated by the SEC. And we hung up, and I sank into my chair and said, God, say it isn't so. Say I haven't been sucked into a Ponzi scheme. But of course I had. I had invested, I think it was $257,000 in 2007, and like 4 or 5 years later, throughout the time. The feelings, the range of feelings, the shame, the embarrassment was incalculable. I thought about suicide for 2 days, long 2 days. I thought, how could I, in the field, smart, get sucked in? And this is a feeling that most of us have when we've been scammed. And it dawned on me finally in a very, very frontal way. Because 2 days I sat in my own ego and shame and self-loathing and flagellating. And then I said to myself, Deborah, you've got 35 clients that are waiting for you to do the same thing for them that you've already done for 30 years. And that you've committed to do until they're dead. You have a job to do here. Get in the saddle and do it. And I did. And I got in the saddle and I reinvested and I invested more money myself. And I moved through it. I moved through. Important words. I speak a lot as a certified grief coach with people who have lost a partner or child. And people say the most inane, insensitive, and I talk about that, the stupid shit people say. I think it's chapter 3 in the book. And it was like, well, you'll get over it. No. If you're disciplined, you'll get through it. And if you move, you have a real good chance of doing that. If, on the other hand, we stay in our paralysis because this has leveled us and we cannot fathom how we can move forward, then what happens, and this is going to sound a tad harsh, and I'm just preparing you right now. You get scammed actually once. You find out about it on that day. We all remember. But then you repeat it 7 million times. It scars you, every pun intended. The more you tell the story from the standpoint that it happened just a few days ago. So I would say to my widowed and widower friends, and I would preface it with, this is going to sound very overt. And there's a reason you weren't in the obituaries. Because people want to die. A lot of people want to die. Their partner dies, they want to die. There's a reason you weren't in the obituaries. I don't know what it is. That's your next chapter. So there's a reason we're here, and money is such a negotiable tool. It's such a tool that we cannot live without it. Like, you can live without broccoli. This statement has caused a lot of angst. You can still live without chocolate. I know it's not like preferable, but you cannot live without managing this. And if we continue to kick this down the road until we're sure we're taking the right next step, we're going to sink instead of swim, because if you haven't noticed, we're now in high inflationary times. Anybody that's filled up their gas tank lately knows it. The cost of groceries, etc. And this is due to high inflation. We've been lulled into this low inflation environment for what, 12 years, such that we hardly, it's like slapping across the side of the head. Like, it's like, oh my heart, right? And we need to be prepared for the unexpected. The scam itself, the timing and whatnot, the detail, unexpected. Faked us out, sucked us in. And I beseech us to dust ourselves off and get back in our game. This is our life.
Hey, Deb, can I ask you a quick question?
Go for it.
When it happened, did you have anybody that you could confide in, or did you tell anybody what happened?
I did not tell anybody for probably about a month. And I say I didn't put anybody, I put, I think it was about $12,000 of my mother's money in it. And I immediately just wrote her a check, which actually is against SEC rules, but I wrote her a check. She's my mother. But I was a month or so before I even told her. And then I really didn't tell anybody. I mean, it was horrible. I mean, of course, now I have the added pressure of this being leaked out on the internet. Thanks be to God, the internet wasn't as, pervasive and well-oiled as it is now, right? Probably each of you would have gotten on your watch, by this point, if this happened today. But the fact is, I thought to myself, holy camole, this is going to be out on the news like Deborah Morrison, a CFP, so I was just like waiting for, more bricks to come in on my head. But I did suffer a lot in silence. There's no question. No question. And yet, so
it's a very hard thing to do.
It's a really hard thing. And women, see, for women physiologically, and there's a study out of USC by two female PhDs, Klein and I'll get the other name. And it's about when men feel stressed, the physiological response is for men to isolate. They just go by themselves and they fulminate about it. They figure it out, right? But the physiological response for women is to bond to cope with stress, right? So here I am, a woman, and it would have been physiologically wise for me to bond with another woman, but I wasn't going to open the kimono, right? So hopefully for all the women in the group, we can bond together and forge an alliance so that when one of us lacks confidence, and it will happen, then the rest of us say, well, wait a minute, I did this the other day. I moved through that. I had some wins. These were my wins. I think they can be your wins. Let's get moving forward. Now, in the case that there's any perfectionists in the room, I want us to remember, or maybe you don't even know, but Warren Buffett, the best stock picker of our generation, bought ConocoPhillips. These are his own admission, of course. He incurred a multi-billion-dollar loss. He bought US Air, multi-billion-dollar loss. It upticked and he ended up selling it without it a loss, but he forewent the dividend, as did Berkshire Hathaway, right? He bought Dexter shoes, and I think it was $3.5 billion. Who do we think we are that we can be in this game called investing and not lose? The trick is to lay down a path that is well drafted, that incorporates what we're looking to do with the investments that we have and those that we're contributing to right now, and meld them together in a way that gives us a high probability of us achieving our goals. And I say to you, this is pretty important, because like I have people say to me, even when I was in practice, well, I was afraid of making a mistake, so I didn't do anything. So I didn't lose. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, here's the clue phone. Here's the clue phone. You did lose opportunity and you lost money by sitting on the sidelines. You lost that buying power because time marches on. So I'm not trying to be derogatory here towards you. I'm not trying to act like a Catholic nun with a big ruler or something. No, I'm just saying, it's just the truth of the matter. Let's just talk truth here. See, that's what I think is important for us. When we've suffered something like this, I want to be about truth telling, because I'm sick of the lies, sick of it. No more time for it. Doesn't insure me against them, but I have a high antenna up for it. So the point is, there's a cost to moving forward because it's uncertain. Yet we must take the baby steps first. And I'm going to guide you through. I have a little workbook for you, and I put it in the chat. You can download it now if you wish, but it's part 1 and part 2. And we're going to come back in a couple of weeks, and we're going to deal with your homework. because I want you in this game. This is the game called life. And why do I want you in this game? I don't know many of you, but I'll tell you what. This is the obituaries. I've often said probably 97% of the people, 98% of the people didn't plan on being here yesterday. Peter, age 37. During the pandemic, he worked tirelessly to supply protective equipment. He had a sharp mind and a joyful human being. Philip passed away peacefully of Alzheimer's. James, age 39, 7 months after a cancer diagnosis, wore down his body. Jamie, you were a joy to have in our life. While your passions have unraveled the threads that held us together physically, your grace and courage in confronting cancer is a life lesson that will live with us forever. And Dr. John, he raised his 4 children. They named the 4 children as a single parent when his cherished wife, Peggy, predeceased him. Let's not wait until something like this happens to us. Let's grab life by the corners and let's bring it home. We have the rest of our life. I don't know how long that is. Like if you went to the doctor and the doctor said, you know what? And some of us have had these words ring in our ears. You have cancer. How many of us, if that's happened to us, or we could imagine that happening to us, go home and say, I feel fine. I think it'll be okay. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. I don't know exactly what to do, so I'm not doing anything. Most of us would say, tell me what's available in the treatment. And we'd go and we'd search around and we would grab every opportunity to educate ourselves about how we can beat death away. And death comes in many forms and in many degrees. And I don't want whatever has befallen you in terms particularly of a financial scam to kill you, because then your obituary should read, Betsy Jones died at age 37, buried at age 84. What the heck? Betsy, in my little example, just wasted 50 years. And guess what? Betsy's kids, Betsy's partner, Betsy's friends. Probably Betsy doesn't have so many friends. See, this is a slippery slope that we must be guarding against. Happened to me. I'm doomed. Well, you're doomed if you think you are, because our attitudes about ourselves and our money shape our behaviors. Our beliefs shape our behaviors. And I want us to change our belief. No, we're not losers. We made a misstep. And I did not say mistake. I said a misstep, because when we act as investors, we are stepping forward. And it happens that sometimes we make a misstep and it's on a slippery rock and we fall or we falter. And I want us to get back on with treaded shoes and get down the path, because there's going to be a fun thing around the corner if you open your eyes to it. If you're stuck in the story, you won't see that. You've all seen that ad about, like, I don't watch television, but I don't know where I saw it. But, 2 people, mid-20s, are like they pass each other on the sidewalk and they're both looking at their smartphones, In the olden days, those 2 people might have met, had a date, gotten married. But if you are convinced that you have nothing more to productively do, and you can't grab the brass ring, and you can't learn the steps of financial wellness and financial empowerment and being intentionally wealthy, which it gets boiled down to paying attention to our money. If you are stuck in the secondary game, now I probably didn't make it as obvious as I now will. This is not a hold our hands kumbaya session tonight. This is a truth telling, hard knocking, farm girl turned successful businesswoman had a misstep, recovered, message to her sisters and brothers, if they apply and they are here and listen, to say, we can do it. Yes, we can. And we must be intentional about that. But there's something I learned in grief coaching and neuro-linguistic programming that says people will continue an action because there's even a detrimental action, because there's secondary gain associated with that. And if you're unfamiliar with that term, I want you to look it up. You know, secondary gain is really deadly. It's like when a person should be on crutches for like 2 weeks, right? And then they're still on crutches for 4 weeks, because every time they go someplace on crutches, forget the pandemic, someone says, oh, what happened to you? Right? They're getting some perks from being on crutches. They don't need to be on crutches. The longer we traipse our story out to a person that's just next in line at the grocery, the longer we will miss opportunities for joy and for love. And I believe at the core of us is love. And there are situations and sometimes circumstances, certainly, that cloud that over. And I invite us to open that kimono and say, what's in there is love. I want to feel it. I want to embrace it. I want to experience it. I want to experience that with other human beings in my family and my circle of friends. And I'm going to start that now. If I don't know what next steps to take, I'm going to get a coach. I'm going to get a little group to support me. And I'm going to say, what is it that I can do now?
But Deborah, I'm scared. I am so fearful of me moving forward. What do you say?
I'm scared if you don't. And then let's talk about how to deal with fear, because I am scared if you don't. But I do have ideas, and I'm certainly going to espouse those ideas of my dear late friend, Dr. Susan Jeffers. And I would suggest to everyone here to get this book. And this is like the oldest version. I mean, the binding is almost gone. And you see, you see how many, I mean, it's just dog-eared out the nostrils. Dr. Jeffers was just a complete master at talking about and writing about fear and how we handle our fear. And she said, if there are, when we encounter something new in life, and it's, it's shocking to us, right? But so many other people are out there doing it despite their fear. We must conclude, fear is not the problem. It's how we hold the fear. And Dr. Jeffers gave us a pain power continuum. And I love this continuum because it gives us hope. It is a pain power continuum, and on either side of the axis, horizontal lines, there are pillars, and on the left side it's pain, and on the right side it's power. And I'll distribute this to you, but on the left side it's helplessness, depression, and paralysis. I wanted to get it exactly right. Helplessness, depression, and paralysis. And the farther right components and emotions and actions are choice, excitement, and action. Choice, excitement, and action. So we may find ourselves really feeling helpless. I was scammed. That's a helpless. But we know that there's a possibility for us to move into choice. I can choose how I contextualize this story. Yes, it happened to me. Yes, I have a life beyond that. And even though I'm scared, are you a tiny bit curious as to what else you could do with your life besides stuck in the story of victim, which nobody wants to take the role of, and the moniker? Nobody. I think that we want to know how we can escape that dead end street, every pun intended. So we can go to depression. And many of us have been there. I've been there. And depression is at one axis and excitement is on the other. And so we shift. And if you look at my TEDx talk, you'll see me on the stage. I'm just shifting. I said, I am so grateful for Dr. Jeffers to have given us this model that gives us hope that we do not have to stamp ourselves on the forehead, stuck in depression. We can slide over to excitement. And then, of course, the last one is a paralysis to action. We can be paralyzed, and we've been paralyzed from weeks of hours and weeks or days or months, God forbid. And then we can visualize us taking action. And action is the quickest way beyond to get out of fear of anything. I think that's universally accepted. Now, just tell you a little story. I read this book probably inside and out, backwards, forwards, diagonally. I was in love with this book. And I sat here and I thought, oh my gosh, what I wouldn't give to meet this woman. She's talking my language. And then I thought, oh, like Dr. Jeffers is going to talk to you? And I was stuck with that for about, I don't know, a couple of weeks. And then one day it was sitting on my desk and I said to myself, I was just like one of those like eureka moments, like, Deborah, for the love of God, feel the fear and do it anyway. So in the days, it's like, I think it might have been rotary phones, but I'm punching in her number, expecting to go through 14 handlers. Hi, Susan here. I was like, oh my God. Susan, this is Dr. Jeffers. This is Deborah Morrison. Of course, and I'm imagining myself with corn cobs coming out of my ears, little Debbie raised on the 100-acre beef cattle farm. How does she have the right to talk with Dr. Susan Jeffers? And I said to her, I will fly to California from New Jersey if you will arrange to have an hour coffee with me. And she said, how does next Thursday sound? I wouldn't have cared if I was meeting with the president. I was clearing next Thursday, and I did. And I flew out there, and our hour coffee turned into a 6.5-hour lunch and early dinner. She takes me across the street. I look at her office and her home, meet her husband, and we were fast friends from then on until the day she died. Probably friends for 10, 12 years. I loved her. She was funny. And she was brilliant. And so she's written books that are great for us, that have been dealt a blow, and we don't know how to move forward. Now, she divides fear into 3 kinds. This is really very instructional. 3 levels of fear. One is level 1 fears, right? That's the surface story. The things that happen to us. Retire, the children leave home, we're going to change, there's war, there's dying. And then I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to, end or begin a relationship. I'm going to lose weight, whatever that is. So that's the first level, right? The second level is involving the ego, right? Now I would tell you the page. I'll tell you the page. I'm on 14, but it's not the same page on the version that you're going to buy today. Level 2 fears have to do with the inner states of mind: rejection, success, failure, being vulnerable, being conned, helplessness, disapproval, loss of image. And she says that has to do with the inner state of mind rather than exterior. They reflect on your sense of self and your ability to handle this world. If you are afraid of being rejected, this fear will affect almost every other area of your life. Rejection is rejection, whether it is found or not. So you begin to protect yourself, and as a great result, limit yourself. You shut down and close out the world around you. Whew, isolationist, not so hot so. Level 3 fear, I can't handle it. And of course, her mantra is, and I have it like all over my offices, I can handle it. Whatever comes my way, I can handle it. And this is about at the bottom of all of our fears. It's simply the fear that we can't handle whatever life will bring us. I can't handle illness. I can't handle getting old, being alone, making a fool out of myself. I can't handle failure, being rejected. And ultimately, the truth is, I can't handle it needs to be identified and isolated, because if you knew you could handle anything that came your way, what would you possibly have to fear? Nothing. So there are tips and tools that we can espouse from Susan's work and others. I've read probably 50 books on dealing with fear. Ariana Huffington had Becoming Fearless. I don't think we become, I just don't agree with that title. I bought the book because I wanted to see what she said. I just don't know as I'm living a fearless life. I'm not, I'm afraid of this and that until I dissect it and I get into what's getting triggered for me. And so we want to diminish our fears and develop more trust in our abilities and ultimately feel good enough about ourselves to take action. You are enough. I am enough. We all are enough. We don't have to prove ourselves to anyone else. And we want to engage in exercises that build ourselves up. And when trouble happens, as trouble will happen, we will take action to recognize it, become conscious of it, and then take healing action to move through it. So we've been scammed and it hurts like hell. And we can recover and we will recover so long as we bring our heads and minds and belief systems and intentionality into the present and look forward. I've often said, I've never measured it, but it just kind of feels to me like the windshield of our vehicle is probably about 10 times bigger than the confluence of the driver's rear view, the passenger's rear view, and that one in the middle, that's the rear view, probably 10 times as big on the windshield. There's a reason for that. So the fear is real. I get it. And if we hold that fear, knowing that we have the power to dispense with and dispel those fears by adopting the I can handle it. And you know how that happens? We get a little win and we say, hey, hey, and another win, and a win begets a win and begets a win. And we're in touch with our friends and they get a win. And pretty soon we say, we can do it. I'm going to end with one little story before I open up to questions, because I want your questions. I give speeches and I say, you know, how many people here, and like big audiences, how many people would, and I don't know where you're all from, we're all from different places, but how many people would willfully cross an 8-lane highway, 4 this way, 8-lane busy highway? I'm like thinking of the one Route 4 going into Manhattan, right? Like cars like this. How many people would cross across, not just the 4, all 8 lanes without the benefit of a traffic light? How many? People are like, what is she saying? Nobody, like nobody. How about if I add that your 3-year-old granddaughter is on the other side of that 8 lanes and about to dart across? Very few of us would not be across those 8 lanes. Yeah. So when people say, I can't do that, I say, then you don't have enough imagination to know what's on the other side of that. But I've seen people recover, and it's started with me. And I saw myself flourish and become a person that has scars on her back that have healed. They are ones I remember So I can then hold out the light for anyone behind me and anyone I can influence. And that's what I'm going to do between now and the time that I go to a different realm. Because I'm so passionate about life, having held the hands of dying clients and friends and family members. I buried 7 of my closest friends in the last 2.5 years. The littlest I knew anyone was 21 years, and I knew 3 of them for 42 years. That's grief, folks. I coined the term compound grief. I was like a racquetball. I was the power of attorney for 3 of them, the executor for 3 of them. I'm still finishing an estate. I didn't have time to do. You're saying, oh, I don't have time. I'm raising kids. I'm having a job. I'm working 3 jobs. I don't have time to fix. No. Yes, you do. The airlines have it right. If the cabin loses pressure and the oxygen masks drop down, put your own mask on first. And then you can help the people you love. So I've thrown out quite a bit, and I've been rather forward and maybe terse. And I want to know where you are and how I might be able to provide any clarity.
Deborah, I'd like for you to go quickly to Susan, to Dr. Jefford's pain to power vocabulary, because I think we need to start with some simple things first, which are attainable, and that would be the little win. In my book, it's page 31, but I've got the newer book. It's chapter 3, I believe, but it's the pain to power vocabulary, and it's chapter 3.
The I won't, I can't, I won't.
Yeah.
And
so it's pain on the left, power on the right, and it's how we speak about it, how we speak about the scam, how we speak about our missteps, not our mistakes. Yeah. Can you give us that? Because they're not looking at this list.
It's like, yes, I can. She says on the left-hand column with pain, it's like people say, I can't do that. I can't. And the power is, I won't do that. I won't stop from my learning curve. Or you say, I should. I could do this. See, there's the power. It's not my fault. I'm totally responsible. It's a problem. It's an opportunity. I'm never satisfied. I want to learn and grow. Life's a struggle. Life's an adventure. I hope. I know. If only. Next time, what will I do? I know I can handle it. It's terrible. It's a learning experience. And she goes through that with each of the levels. And
I like that one. Maybe we can put together a slide and then put that in the Thrivers group so that they can have that, because I find that continuum is so true. And even the words try, I don't say I try anymore. What do you think about the word try? Well,
it's a completely negative word. He tried to finish the race. She tried to lose weight. All it connotes is failure. They didn't do it. They didn't win. They didn't lose. They didn't do whatever. They didn't lose the weight. They didn't drop the weight. They didn't win the race. They didn't win in life. They didn't get the job. You tried for it. No. You take strategic action and you vie for it. You are in there like your life depends on it. Because facets of your life do depend on our individual successes. You see, they bond together like atoms, and they make up ourselves and our souls. And when we are intentional about moving forward and being all we were meant to be, fallible individuals, yes, we are, and individuals and women for the most part, and men that are eager to better themselves. When your kid comes home or your niece or nephew comes home with a C or a D or an F in a subject, generally people like coalesce around and say, math, okay, let's figure this out. Let's move forward because this is essential in life. And ladies and gentlemen, it's essential to know about your money because if in fact you don't, you're going to be probably faced with an end of life, or not even end of life, but a later year predicament, which is, holy camoli, where will I live? Like, and you're like looking at your two kids singing, oh, the son or the daughter, and they're looking at each other saying, no, 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 no. So, you know, like because women are so externally focused, I get a lot of moms that, you know, I say, well, you know, so do you have any accounts receivable? Like when people have a business, you know, they sold some goods and services, but somebody didn't pay them yet. So that's called an accounts receivable. Do you have any accounts receivable? Well, yeah, I loaned my son, you know, $5,000. When? Where's the promissory note? Oh, that was a few years ago. Did he pay any interest? No, he didn't. And he didn't pay me back yet. So it was a gift. It was a gift. And guess what? That same child is going to come back to you and ask for another gift, loan, gift, loan, gift. And it's incumbent upon you to say, and I have literally coached clients through this. Son, daughter, I did give you a loan once. Didn't work out as we had agreed. That's life. I just got engaged with a financial support group or a coach or a financial advisor that is suggesting to me the importance that I get my arms around my own money so that I'm not an imposition on my kids as I age. Those kids will figure something else out. I circled back to one client that I gave that advice to, and she was fear and trembling about saying this because it was a boy, it was a guy, it was a man. And she was like afraid. And so I circled back in a month and I said, so what about Jim? You know, what did he do? Oh, I don't know. He figured it out. Yeah, sure enough. Yeah, they will. They will. You wonder why the charity keeps pumping you? Because you gave once. You're a likely target. But when you're talking about a mother and a kid, you're going to be tapped for loans. And I want you to take care of yourself. Airline, mask first. You've got to put gas in your own vehicle. We're all driving vehicles around, and most of them that are later years vehicles have idiot lights. So if we don't happen to notice, it comes on and says oil check. I want us to develop an inward system where we have our own lights that come on to our consciousness and say, something is not right. I'm not saving every month into a savings account, or I'm not funding my 401k or 403b at work, or I don't have an emergency fund and this pandemic set me back and that was painful. Here's the deal. How painful was it? Do you ever want to feel that pain again? Probably not. So what corrective action have you taken? See, there's the way through. I felt that pain once. I don't want to feel that pain again. I'm going to do something differently, because if we do the same thing again and again and again and expect a different result, a lot of society has a word for that. And it's insane. We're smarter than that. I think we just need to be coached and to be given a vision, if you will, like Dr. Jeffers gave us with that pain power continuum. And that I'm throwing out, you can do this. Yes, you can. It's not too late. I have people come to me, oh, it's too late. I'm already 65. Okay, unless you have a terminal diagnosis, and even if you do, because so many people outlive those life expectancies, thanks be to God, I'm going to factor in that one of you, if you're in a couple, are going to live well into your 90s. 3 of my 4 grandparents lived well into their 90s, and I'm 66. So that was decades ago. If you think you're checking out of here at age 70, 75, you might, but probably you won't, or one of you will still be remaining if you're coupled. And don't fall into that, well, it's only one, so it'll be 50% of what we're paying now. Well, the electric company is not going to agree with you. So let's put our realistic glasses on and say, this is something I want to attend to. This is something I want to attend to. This is a goal that I want to achieve. This is on my bucket list. I've never seen Hawaii. I want to go there. I've never seen Taos, New Mexico. I want to go there and look at the art galleries, whatever it is. Because the day after the funeral, a little late, if you're wanting to do that with your partner. Someday I'll move through this scam. Well, how about that day becomes today? Because what is more important than your wholeness? And if you are still holding on to grief, remnants of grief about being a scam, involved in a scam, it's not like you say, well, I had 100 units of grief in my cellular body. I'm great for analogy, so maybe this will work for you, maybe it won't. I had 100 units of grief in my body because it was like massive, right? And I've barely moved through a lot of it, probably only have 10 left. Guess what? The stats show that remnants of grief clog your systems disparate to the percentage that is, if we could calculate, okay, I have 10% left. Even if you have 2% left, I think that's the example, 2% unresolved grief, it slows you down like sludge in a pipe or a spark plug that needs cleaned. And we don't have to go at half speed. No, we don't. But we do have to change our minds to think we can do this. And once we change our minds and our beliefs, then we will change our behaviors, and that brings it home. And that brings us closer to our wholeness, which is the part of us that can tell a joke and laugh at a joke and be in a party and be in a social setting. Forget the pandemic, but to be in ourselves in relationship with other people. And if you've got something, ball and chain, holding you back, I beseech you, take a look at that and calculate the expense of not addressing that compared with the fear, which if we can figure out how to hold it at various stages and forgive ourselves when we slip back over a little bit to the pain side, knowing full well that we can slide back over to the power side. Like I say, I expect us to slip over to the pain side in some of those categories. Yes, I do, but I don't want us taking up residency there. Right? So once we see the vision, oh, okay, it's conscious now. It's not running me like subconscious minds do. It's not running me. I'm now conscious of it. I'm slipping back over into my power. And you know, as soon as you make that choice, the people around you will say, what's different? You seem different. And you are different. You're showing up differently. And I hold that out as a vision for each one of us. And I put in the chat a workbook. There's 2 parts. And I'm just going to briefly overview it. But the first page is pretty important. Well, the first page is just the picture. But declare your intentions, right? I honor my emotions and feelings. I take responsibility personally for my life and actions. I strive to focus on the best in myself and my world. I believe in myself. Only I know what is best for me. See, these are your dreams. And then we're going to get into important kinds of questions like, which area of your life is the most painful now? You say, well, financial, maybe, right? Or, maybe the financial has caused a rift between you and your partner or you and your family. let's patch that up. How does it feel painful? In what way? How does the pain manifest itself? We're going to get at the secondary game. Describe your biggest financial misstep. How much money did you invest? What was the percentage of your net worth that you lost? I lost 30% of my net worth in that. I think it's helpful for us to know this. Like, I think it's helpful. And get that stuff out. It's factual. Why is it painful? How did it get to the state? Well, because I kind of didn't deal with it for a while. Okay, so it's like, a cancer, if you don't deal with it, it metastasizes. And some cancers will take you out. And if we don't deal with our dis-ease with ourselves and our finances, it's likely to wreak havoc on various aspects of our bodies. And then I can assure you, I had probably 5 clients worth tens of millions of dollars, and they would have given a lot of it for another week, month with their partner or with their family. They would have given a lot of it to not be burying their son who had OD'd and was John Doe in the local hospital because no ID was on him. He was robbed, and he lay in the hospital for 9 days as John Doe. See, I want to say, if money can solve it, it's not a problem. And once you take that attitude, that life itself is the gift that we have in various percentages, in various stages, in various states of fullness, this might be a tool to buy some things. It might be a tool to buy some better medical treatment to improve our health. We've got 2 assets in life. I was on CNN being interviewed by Stuart Varney, 1980 or some darn thing, 100 years ago. And he said to me, Deborah, what's your best asset? And of course, across the Chiron, Deborah Morrison, CFP and everything. And I know he wanted me to say a stock or a mutual fund or some piece of real estate. And I was just like one of those times like, oh my God, please give me something to say, and thanks be to God, God gave me, and it came tumbling out of my mouth. Stuart, I have 2 assets in life, time and health. He had to take a station break. Stuart Varney, you know the name. He about fell off his producer chair. Oh my God, we have a financial planner here talking about time and health. Yeah, because I've lived it with people that had a shit ton of money, excuse the French, but they didn't have their health. Let's not have our misstep with money rob us of our health, our vitality, and what's ahead for us if we will only believe and take those first baby steps towards action. Who's in?
I am. It's important, ladies. If you have any questions for Deborah, any comments, please put them in the chat so that we can bring them up. This is really important stuff, and we've talked about it in the support groups several times about what happened to us. If we hold it in, it'll kill us. It'll kill us from the inside out. And it's not a difficult thing to do, really, to start that, take that, like Deborah said, take that first baby step. And the first step might be change the way you talk about things. Change the way you think. You're not trying to do it anymore. You're striving to do it, or you're vying to do it. Yeah. And it's really important. And I love how she said the only assets, or the 2 greatest assets we have, are time and health. If we're in our 60s, my parents are 87 and 92. I have another third of a life to go. I'm not going to stop today. Don't let what happened to you stop you today, because you'll rob yourself of the next 30 years. Yeah. And we can have fun with less money, reset our expectations. And that's what we're going to talk about going forward, is how do we reset our expectations? When my husband died, all the things that we had planned on doing weren't going to happen anymore. And if I had just wallowed in that 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I'd still be doing nothing.
Yeah.
And how sad would that have been? And I'd look a whole lot older than I am. I'd feel a whole lot older. I'd feel probably sick. And it's not worth it. It wasn't worth my time. It wasn't worth being a victim for a moment. So that's what we're here for. And I love how Deborah, who has lived a loss, lived a misstep financially, and Warren Buffett, who has lost a ton of money, a lot more than I did, a lot more than all of us put together have. Yeah. And he's still cranking along in Omaha. Let's see, I have something here. So I'm looking forward to, thank you. Thank you. This is awesome. I'm looking forward to learning from Deborah. I already picked up a couple great pointers. I need to rebuild the retirement I lost during the scam, and no others have lost theirs too. Deborah, one quick thing before we go. What's the first step they can take to regaining their retirement? Perhaps betterment, perhaps something.
Yeah, most people have an opportunity to save through automatic payroll deduction with their employer. Now, if you're self-employed, you can set up your own plan. And what I find works the best is that automatic withdrawal, right? So if you have an option with your employer, if you're a W-2 person and getting a salary, then ask your employer if they have a 401k, and that's for for-profit corps. A 403b is if you work for a hospital or school. That's just different code in the IRS code. So then you can say, okay, enroll me in that and take out, X dollars a paycheck. If you get paid every 2 weeks, it's 26 pays a year, and take out a certain amount and start to invest that money. Now, when we're investing for anything that's 7+ years away, which is for most of us retirement, right? It's going to be more than 7+ years. And even if we're already sitting on age 70 or 75, if you're thinking you have a chance of living till 90, you can go ahead and put money in stocks, because you probably have some money to take you from 70 to 75. I'm going to send money ahead that's going to take you from 80 to 85, right? Because if you put the money away now, it's going to compound so that you have it then. And so I want us to invest in our automatic withdrawal from our paycheck if you have that available. If you don't, set up your own IRA, Roth or traditional, and you can ask your advisor, ping me, or your 401k yourself, solo K, if you're an entrepreneur, and start an automatic from your bank, because you're going to feel it the first time it comes out. You're going to say, oh, that wasn't what I used to get as my take home. And then it's automatic and you don't even feel it. Like I tell the story, I had a client come into my office and she wasn't even that old. She was probably mid-50s, single gal. And she said, oh yeah, I have some Pepsi stock here. And she had a DRIP, dividend reinvestment program. She hands me the statement. And as she hands me the statement, she takes a look at it. I don't think she even had taken a look at it. She takes a look at it. She goes, $67,000 I have in Pepsi. And I was like, yeah, well, did you get, an inheritance? No, she said, I liked Pepsi in college. I just put $50 a week or a month or something into it. I mean, they just grew like that. Like, why do people own their own homes? Because your mortgage was automatically deducted. And you couldn't get you didn't stop paying your mortgage. You continued to pay it. And that's the thing. If we get scared because the media promulgates nonsense information talking to you about intraday price volatility, when you know full well, or I'll teach you full well, that for the last 80 years, the stock market has done some gyration, but on the whole gone up precipitously, then we need to direct our retirement accounts for longer than 7 years into the stock market. And guess what? It's on sale now. So you're getting more units by buying stocks now. You say, oh, I'm a little afraid of the stock market. Yeah. How afraid are you at a historic rate of 10% a year compared to bonds at 5%? Does that scare you? No, the intraday scares us. And that's the emphasis on the wrong syllable. Remember when Frank Shorter was a U.S. marathon gold winner? He just kept running and running and running that marathon. If you happened to be at the Olympics and you were in the oval, which is a quarter of a mile, when he was coming through, and you stopwatched him and there he went around the oval, and you're like, well, that wasn't terribly impressive. No, we weren't measuring a marathon runner on a quarter mile. We were measuring him on 26+ miles. And that's when he shone. When you have a chocolate cake recipe in front of you and it says 350 degrees, this chocolate cake for 50 minutes, and you put it in the oven, and 10 minutes later, you're curious and you jerk the oven door open and the cake out, you're not going to have a good chocolate cake. Now, we can all do without a chocolate cake, but we can't do without putting our money in the stock market, and which is intended for at least 7 years. And then because some knucklehead who's paid to simply talk about market volatility because it's exciting and his veins will be popping almost as much as mine will be, some knucklehead, which we otherwise transpose as that must be financial advice, their emotion causes us to hit the sell button at precisely the wrong moment. Keep the cake in the oven for the requisite time on the recipe. Keep your stocks in the stock market for at least 7+ years. And when they're on sale like they are now, pop over all of your new retirement monies into stocks and buy at a discount. So I think the first step would be to start to fund or up your contribution to your 401k or 403b, because incidentally, guys, if you go with the traditional, it reduces your W-2. So you say, I hate to pay income tax. Great. If you're making $100,000 a year and you're contributing $10,000 to your 401k, the government sends, that company sends a W-2 to the IRS that says 90. You're grossing 100, but you're putting 10 into the 401k. 90 is all that gets reported as taxable. That 10 went free to the gov, away from the gov. It went free to your retirement plan. It's not going to be taxed until you take it out. That's compounding on untaxed dollars. So when you take out your calculator and say, well, I wonder how much I can afford to put away each week. Well, I probably could do without $20 a pay. Well, here's the deal. Let's talk about if you're in a 20% tax bracket. In that same example, keep the math simple. If you're contributing $10,000 a year and you're in a 20% tax bracket, that $10,000 isn't getting taxed at 20%. So you just saved paying $2,000 in income tax. Take in your calculator and put $2,000 divided by probably 26 pay periods, and you can put away $76.90. That's just in the tax you didn't pay. Add that to the $20 a pay you can afford, and bada bing, bada bang, tonight you have decided $100 a pay is doable.
We got her energy up, guys, and I don't know about you, but I have chocolate brownies cooking, and I'm going to have them tonight. But those of you that are thinking, I don't have the money, I don't have 100,000, I don't have, start with $5.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Just start. Tonight it's take action, and your action could be at $5. If that's all you can afford, that's a good thing, because honest to goodness, I started it about a year ago, and that $5 you can figure, well, maybe next week I can put in 10. And then you're not even looking at it. And then you look and say, oh my gosh, I have $100 in that account, or I have $200 in that account. Those are the wins we want. Right, little by little. They're fun. And it gives you that confidence again to start taking your finances seriously and realizing you're not going to stay where you're at. You're not going to take residence in that place you don't want to be in anymore. You want to move forward step by step. And tonight was busting the fear of even talking about it. So Deborah's going to be with us for the next couple of months. We're going to do this once a month for the next 3 months to just get us started, you guys. And if you have questions from tonight, those people that are watching this later on, put the questions in the Thrivers Group Facebook page, and we will address those in the next call. This is the third Thursday Thrivers Group.
Yeah.
So the third Thursday of next month. It's really good. So I have someone here that says, I'm enjoying this call. I thought mutual funds were the way to go for saving for retirement because it's safer. Guys, we'll talk about that later on. Mutual funds have stocks in them.
Yeah, mutual funds are a wrapper. It's a wrapper around stocks, or a wrapper around bonds, or a wrapper around stocks and bonds. So mutual funds are a good way because it spreads out the risk, because you're investing in generally thousands of companies instead of picking Tesla, because, we all know the story of companies that have gone down. Enron is chief among them, right? They were really solid, if you will, and then something happened. So yeah, I like to spread the risk, but we'll get into that. That's the boost stuff.
Bring your questions, and I just heard too, not only in Thrivers group, if anybody's listening in the general support group, put it there. We'll address it. I'll send them on to Deborah and we can talk about this. If you have questions about the mutual funds versus stocks, I heard the word safe. This is a group of safe people. Bring your questions next month because we'll have the answers for you. But in the meantime, if you get a chance and you have a few extra dollars, not very expensive, go to Amazon and get Dr. Susan Jeffords' Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. I bought it after listening to Deborah, and oh my gosh, I got through the first 3 chapters and I highlighted almost all of it. And I called her up. I'm like, this is amazing. We got to show it to everybody on the show. Also, go to womennavigatingfinances.com//thrivers. There's the Wealthy Women, Intentionally Wealthy Women workbook there. Let's work on it together. Talk about it next month. There's a lot going on here, but we want you to take the first step to regaining confidence with your finances. Deborah, quick last word, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Pay attention to your money. It will pay you back. You can do this. We can do it, women. I bought the trademark. That's how passionate I am about women moving forward. We can do it. Yes, we can.
Thank you so much, Miss Deborah. I appreciate you, my darling, and everybody that's here and listened. Thank you so much for being part of our Thrivers group tonight. This is an incredible opportunity for us to take a hold of our finances. We really appreciate you being here and come back.
Sure thing.
Thanks, Dr. Tim. Have a great night, everybody.